You said you also watched Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. What were your initial impressions on this show?
Oh, I had so many more notes. So many more notes on this show. My initial impression was that I have learned sunglasses are a superpower. You can say whatever you want as long as you're wearing an oversized pair of sunglasses. That's what I've learned. I didn't see this as much in Salt Lake City, and I'm going to akin this to using it kind of as a shield. I felt like things were more off the cuff in the Beverly Hills one. They seemed more comfortable saying some mean things to each other, but they all did it with sunglasses on. And so it made me feel like they were like, I'm going to say these terrible things, but I don't want you to see my eyes while I'm doing it.
We have seen Angie wear some pretty big sunglasses in Salt Lake City, so maybe that explains a few things. I'm very much liking this theory. What were your highlights here?
There was a lot of talk of showmanship and using that as an excuse for things. I heard it might have been Dorit, I can't remember, who said, I was up there and I was expected to give them a show, and so that's what I was doing. This was part of the apology that they were giving, and it wasn't the only time someone mentioned showmanship in this series, which I didn't hear anything of in Salt Lake, which was interesting to me. And I loved the flashbacks with their old pictures of seeing what they looked like before they were Real Housewives. I love that touch. I feel like that wasn't in maybe the beginning of this series, but it definitely humanizes them even more when you see them without all the makeup and the glamour and things like that.
Yeah, totally. Sandy, what were your highlights here?
It was really quick, but Sutton's sexy cat dress that she was bringing to Vegas was amazing. Yes. Did you guys catch that? I would have liked to. I
haven't known about that too.
I mean, maybe we'll see her in it. But wow, that was awesome. Love it. We talked about her being. Me and Craig really like Sutton, and she's a cat lady, and she really is like she's
okay.
Hashtag goals for sure. So that's really cool. And my other, I guess, notable point was, so Dorit has this whole PTSD storyline because she got robbed. Admittedly, if true, because there are allegations that it might not be, but her house got robbed at gunpoint like last season with her kids inside, which legitimately terrifying. But now she's had a relapse of PTSD because she put $10,000 cash in her purse and then just set it down in a shopping cart and wandered around absentmindedly, and then it was taken. What a shock. So I found that to be a little out of touch, that she thought that was, I mean, I don't know what it's like in Beverly Hills and how people use cash, but I would not be shocked if that happened to me. And I mean, so
Okay. That's gonna happen.
Christmas presents, $10,000 in cash for Christmas
what
presents.
Charge it. Charge that. The thing is, this is how I even know. So when things make it out of the Real Housewives bubble of awareness, because I work in media, so I get dribbles of stuff. I heard about that. I heard about her being robbed. I heard that there was no security cams. And so it was lucky that I knew about that when I saw this episode. And when she was talking about, I was walking around the store and then I realized my purse was gone. I was like, oh my God, this has to be this, you can't be this dumb. You can't be this absent-minded. And that lets you know the value of money for them. Maybe we would do that with $100, but they're like, $10,000 in my, no big deal. I mean, not no big deal. It's obviously a big deal, but
it's not no big deal because she's
in the store.
She's like, if it was no big deal, that's one thing, and we can make fun of her for her privilege, etc. But she's now saying this is PTSD, but I mean, anyone's going to get followed if they see you doing that. Like, it's not about you, Dorit. Like, they're not.
Yes.
Like, it's just like it is a big deal.
Not you specifically.
Yeah.
You're a target. Yeah. When you go to an ATM and get out that much cash and then put it in your purse and walk around, it doesn't take long for someone to figure that out. And at least when I used to live in Beverly Hills, everyone. People are going to know these people on the show. They're going to see them, and that in itself makes you a target. And so you have to be even extra careful when you're out there, even if you are in Beverly Hills.
Craig, your point, like Christmas presents, sorry, I might be on a lie. What is she actually buying in cash? I didn't even think of that part. Like, what is happening?
Yeah, this is money that was meant to disappear in some way. Maybe it did actually legitimately get stolen. But $10,000 in cash for Christmas presents that's not a thing. Like, why would you take out $10,000 in cash for Christmas presents? Like, it doesn't make any sense. I can't even theorize a reason why you would take out that much money in cash, especially under the condition that it is for Christmas presents.
Christmas presents, yes. Yes. That's what I was trying to understand. I just couldn't wrap my head around the logic. And then at a moment I was like, it just wasn't logical, Nat. Like, you just got to let it go. It was not a logical decision. And that's why it didn't turn out logically. And so I was a little surprised by that. I was like, there's no way you didn't think this through, but maybe she didn't think it through.
I think there is something sketchy going on with Dorit that we're only getting weird glimpses of. I don't know why she is determined to bring it up on the show, because it seems like something very shady is happening with their money.
Wonder if they've got insurance frauds or anything like that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I am thinking, but it seems very messy the way that it's happening. But yeah, that's, I don't know. I don't have any proof. Who am I?
We don't have any proof, and they don't either. Yes, allegedly. The thing is, I wanted to look it up. I was like, their house is worth $6.47 million. Like, it's, and there are no cameras. And so this to me is what gives me the skepticism, because I'm like, if that did happen, you would be on even more high alert than usual from then on. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know what's going on. I might check back in with you guys in a couple months and see how that played out, because I also got the feeling that something was very weird happening.
Yeah, and I mean, there's always been rumors floating around about PK and Dorit and having some weird financial relations and debt and stuff like that.
He's weird.
So
he's weird.
Yeah, I get a bit of a weird vibe from him. Speaking of Dorit, just quickly, what do you guys think of her fashion in general?
It's kind of basic.
Yeah.
She's the one who did the Pretty Woman thing, right? That he bought her a dress. Don't even get me started on that. And then danced to Top Gun. So, there was so much between those two. And I know that my husband's English, and so I do know who he is already. I do know that he's our rival team in the house. He used to own Tottenham, and so he has a lot of money. Yeah. And they use it in such a weird way. I would have been so offended if my husband was like, oh, let's do a Pretty Woman surprise thing. But it was just her anxiety that was getting the best of her. It wasn't the theme. It was the anxiety.
That scene was incredible. This whole Pretty Woman thing, and her just first being worked up about the kids, which I that's understandable, but then getting worked up about the glam. At first I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. But then when she came out, it was not a good look, in my opinion. I'm not a fashion expert at all, but I was like, okay, she does look kind of bad. So I can see why she would be like upset about having what is like set up to be, you know, if you watch Hallmark movies, there's always like this like Cinderella moment. And it was very much set up like that for her to come down the stairs like that. And just like looking like, you know, sort of like Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman, but like pre the whole like glow up.
They put the two pictures side by side, which I appreciated. I was like, go ahead, bravo, do that. But they're like, just in case you are unsure what it's meant to look like. But I definitely, I put in my notes here that I felt uncomfortable with that, in the sense that I was like, I think we're peeking in on someone's like sexual fantasy. I don't think we're supposed to be here for this role play that PK is trying to do, because he's like, I'm going to dress you up in this. I'm going to give you this necklace, and we're going to dance to this song from Top Gun. It just seemed so, it was very particular for a surprise for her.
Yeah. And very like uncomfortable, like dressing her up specifically how he wanted, but not giving her the like the tools or the freedom that she would want in order to like make herself feel good about it. Is like, I mean, like he was, I guess, trying to do something fun, but it was really not thinking about her. It was like very evident from the planning.
She specifically is very, very, I mean, they all are focused on their looks, but like she fashions her thing. It's her language, blah, blah, blah. Like this is absolutely kind of like Lisa, when Lisa in Salt Lake City previously, when she didn't want to have anyone, you know, she didn't want to dress up in drag. She just needed control over her looks. And Dorit's very much like that. And if you don't know that about your wife, and he's like, well, it was a surprise. But I mean, you know what kind of surprise your partner's going to enjoy. So,
Yeah.
And that necklace was like a red that like clashed with the. Was that from the movie? Because that looked awful. That red necklace that clashed with the red dress. Like, ooh, she was very gracious. I feel actually, all things considered.
Yeah, totally. She was when she was talking about like, I don't know, was it the toner or something that she
bronzer?
By like Beverly Beach by Dorit that she didn't have. I'm like, oh, this is just her like wanting to plug her own thing. Then when she came out, I was like, oh no, actually that is like a valid thing. And I am not like the type of person that picks up on these things. Like, it's like, okay, yeah, there's definitely something like very off, almost like uncanny valley about this look. It's not, this is not a Dorit look.
It's a Halloween costume that she would never choose.
Yeah, exactly.
There was one couple that kept calling each other Bubba a lot. I kept hearing like the Bubba all the times, and I was like, is this a nickname that they use with each other?
Who was that? I didn't pick up on that.
Dorit, and I think she calls him Bubba.
Is it them? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they're an odd pairing. Just on the surface anyway. I don't know too much about them as individuals, but they seem really weird together. I Googled and saw that they've only been married since 2015, I believe. And that's because they showed us, you know, all these over the top surprises that he likes to do for her, you know, and she does for him, and they're landing helicopters on, you know, yachts and things. And so, I'm curious what the longevity of these two are going to be.
Well, it seems like they're having some troubles. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the speculation online.
Oh, okay. This is all clicking in now.
They all seem like a pretty solid couple, though. Like, overall, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I've overthought it, but they seem like a weird match, but a good one. And now this is now they're bringing up in a storyline that they're having marital troubles, but it's not going to compete with Kyle and Mauricio's marital troubles. Dorit, sorry.
Well, yeah, but that's another couple that seemed like so solid, and that's why it's such a shocker, right? Like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but they are kind of like the last people that I would expect to be having issues of all like the Bravo couples, Kyle and Mo. but like not the last people that I would expect to like pull a stunt like separation. So that's why I kind of lean towards maybe that's more what's going on. But yeah, no, I feel like Dorit and PK, like you said, they did seem fairly solid. But you know, looking back on that, it through the lens of Pretty Woman, it does seem like PK maybe has a tendency to be a little selfish, especially like when Dorit's talking about, you know, PK really not spending that much time at home when she was struggling from PTSD after this incident, and just kind of being a little unavailable. So yeah, I can see like maybe they've been good at kind of hiding things, or I haven't been that good at like picking up on things.
Well, I also know that his ex is an American presenter named Rachel Uchel, and she very much looks like a amalgamation of Julia Roberts a little bit. People have said that to her before, and so I found that interesting that he went with this Pretty Woman thing, because I was like, is this the first time he's doing this? She's mentioned before, his ex has mentioned before, just how much money he threw at her, kind of in a similar way from what I was seeing. It's just it's almost like he was treating her like a doll, like, I'm gonna dress you up and put you in this situation. Like, I see him as a little bit selfish. You guys mentioned like he just kind of was like, I'm gonna pick this for you and not even consult you, or take her out and let her pick a red dress like a couple of months before and use it for a surprise. But yeah, they're interesting. I want to see what happens, because I don't know them from anything, and they're the ones who I was like, okay, something's a little odd about their interactions.
Oh, that's interesting. The note about PK's ex, and is really adding some color to the Mystic Pizza Val renewal that we'll be getting. It's another Julia Roberts movie, so maybe that's
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. What other highlights did you have, Nat?
I was definitely surprised to see what I kept referring to colloquially as like the staff of each of these housewives. I didn't see it in Salt Lake City, but in the Beverly Hills one, all of them had like an assistant, a stylist, a makeup person. And I was like, okay, this is just their little entourage that helps them get ready for this show and just be presentable for it. You guys mentioned Sutton, and I think Sutton's hilarious. I kept being like, does Sutton know that she's on Real Housewives? The matchmaker that is now helping her definitely is going to have their work cut out for them, because I don't even think that it's that she's too picky. She's just an oddball, right? She's just a goofball. And I don't think people really expect that from someone like her. And so they don't know how to act. When I saw those flashbacks of her on her dates being like, my foot's itchy, I've got neuropathy and stuff, I'm like, you wouldn't expect that from someone like this. And so I really hope that the matchmaker can pick up on that I think she's looking for someone who has a sense of humor, but isn't going to be intimidated that she is a Real Housewife. I know that she was like, we're not going to talk about wealth right now, but I want to see who they pick for these dates, because she said, I'm going to bring you 3 bachelors and you're going to pick which one you want to go out on a date with. So I can't wait to see what they pick for her.
Yeah, totally. And that flashback of her on that date was very endearing. I think, like, I've said that, one of the things I love about reality TV is that you typically get like such a spectrum of human emotion and personality types on these shows. But one thing that you don't often see is kind of like a nervous or anxious energy, just because, people that have those traits typically shy away from being in front of the camera, which is like understandable. But Sutton and like Jenna Lyons on Real Housewives of New York, they are in front of the camera and giving that, and it is just like, it really makes them characters that you want to root for. There's like this humility that they exude that you don't get to see in other personalities that gravitate towards these roles.
Totally.
Yeah. I like that. And I noticed that. I think that's why Sutton was probably my favorite of the Beverly Hills Housewives. I have seen Garcelle in so many like background acting roles. So I was like, whoa, I didn't know that Garcelle was going to be on this show. And then I don't know. I wasn't really a fan of Garcelle. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like her reaction to her son when he was trying to have like a serious conversation with her.
Yeah, she did kind of like fumble that. I do like Garcelle. When she first, this is like her third season on, but when she first came on, I recognized her because I was a big fan of NYPD Blue, and she was great on that. And her first season, I thought like she wasn't really giving a lot. It seemed very removed from the rest of the group. And then the next season, and maybe this is her fourth season now, I don't know, but she has been giving a lot more, and I've like liked her. And her and Sutton, I think, have a really good dynamic between each other. I am curious as to how she feels and how she's going to talk about this season and her family on the reunion, because I get the sense that she might be a little like caught off guard by how this is coming across in the edit, because I agree, it does seem like she is not really handling this as well as you might expect someone to.
I got that feeling too.
But like that is just the way that things are in life, and you like, it's something that the reality TV cameras, do a good job of like capturing that. And it wasn't absolutely the worst way. You can tell that we're seeing in this episode that she is she's got regrets that seem to be like she has some regrets about how she has handled that conversation and the situation leading up to it. And it's going to be something that I'm interested to see how it plays out through the rest of this season.
Yeah, I liked that too. I felt like that was a really real realization for her. I think she was being genuine when she was having a little cry, saying, she had reflected more on her reaction and her response to him. And I liked that. I liked that this show, hopefully this isn't like a one-off, but I like that it didn't shy away from showing that vulnerability that she was expressing, and it didn't feel exploited like some of the other things I've seen. And just showing that these people, for all their flaws, they are capable of real growth and real change. And sometimes we are going to be privy to that, which is a treat.
Yeah, and like as a parent, I relate to, like, I haven't had to deal with anything at the scale of what Garcelle has, but kind of scaling that down to just like situations where my kids are fighting and maybe I don't handle it as well as I like would have liked to in retrospect. Like I can relate to that feeling of being like, oh, I wish I had done this better today, or I wish I'd done that better today, just as a parent. So that kind of like parental anxiety, I think, is something that you don't often see captured on television, because it's really hard to state in an honest way, I think. But yeah, no, that's it is something that is like one of the elements that I think is really compelling about Garcelle so far this season. And we're really early on in the season too.
Yeah, this was episode 2 that I watched, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I liked this. I mean, there was a little bit of drama in this episode, but I liked that this did not give me what I was expecting. We all think we're going to get the drama with these shows, because that's what causes those physiological arousals, which raises our heart rates and stimulates the production of all these endorphins and keeps us coming back to these shows. But there wasn't as much drama as I was prepared for, especially given it's Beverly Hills. I was like, oh, this one's going to be so over the top. I want to see the next one where they go to Vegas.
Yeah.
Because I can tell Vegas is going to be a bit of a shit show. I can already tell.
It looks like it's shaping up to be a banger of an episode. The stinger that we got at the end, like, I am very curious as to what is setting Sutton off, because like they kind of imply that it's like this implied act of oral sex on Erika from the Magic Mike people that is setting her off, which I don't imagine is what is actually causing her to be upset. But
didn't
I think it's that.
Like, I heard it was a Kyle or someone saying, like, in that preview, I could be wrong, but it's like, are you mad they didn't choose you to go up because you're also wearing pants? Because they were talking about wearing pants, I guess, if you want to go on stage. And I was just like, I don't know.
So I don't know Sutton's whole history, but in this episode, she mentioned with the matchmaker that she's kind of modest and that she doesn't like to show off a lot of skin. And then they showed that adorable cat sweater of hers that she wore. And so I don't know if she's ever been to one of these shows. You know, she asked if Channing Tatum was going to be there. So I get the feeling that maybe she hadn't. And so I'm wondering if it was just too raunchy for her, if she just wasn't expecting that. But it'll be more funny if she's upset that she didn't get chosen.
And the fact that those are the two options and they're completely on the other side of the spectrum. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And next week, and this is like very fun, coincidental timing. Our guest next week is a YouTuber named Zach Frazier, who first came onto my radar from this video essay he did about how like positive masculinity is portrayed within Magic Mike XXL. Very good YouTube video. I recommend it. So I'm excited that we're going to see some drama surrounding Magic Mike and have someone that has, you know, some cultural context surrounding those movies to weigh in on it.
That's very cool.
Very nice.
Sandy, what were your highlights from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills?
I think I started with the cat dress and the 10K in the purse. So
oh, right.
I'm good.
Yeah.
That's about it for me.
Yeah, I think that we covered most of my highlights as well. There were two other notes that I had. One was this lunch between Crystal and Rob and her brother. I just really liked the her brother kind of grilling her about, you know, well, if I brought home a girl that's 20 years younger than me, would you welcome her with open arms? And Crystal's like so reluctant to say yes, even though that's the exact dynamic that she has with Rob, like right down to the like power dynamic of, you know, her brother being like a famous pop star with all this like cultural currency. And, you know, Crystal's husband, Rob, directed The Lion King and has all of this cultural currency. And so, you know, the fact that it would make her uncomfortable to see her brother be on the upper end of that power imbalance in a romantic relationship was interesting, you know, in how it kind of reflects on maybe her relationship with Rob and how she feels about that retroactively. And they seem like they've got a very like solid relationship as well. But the fact that there's a little bit of a discomfort in, you know, looking at that power dynamic in an abstract is really interesting, that she's able to kind of, you know, flag that as immediately not passing the gut check.
Yeah. They had interesting responses to that as well. She agreed. She was like, oh, you know, she did reluctantly agree, but then she threw out all these qualifiers. She was like, she's got to be this, that. And then she slipped it in. I don't know if you guys heard it, but she said, she's got to be perfect. is what she said. And I was like, well, geez, no pressure.
Yeah.
But her husband spun it and was like, if she's as mature and bright and etc. as your sister, then yes. And so I loved that he took it, but I think she definitely probably bumps up against getting flack for that 20-year age gap a lot, and is very defensive about it. And at least given what she shared, she's okay as long as this person is perfect, tells me that she's not really reconciled how she feels about that age gap between the two of them.
And the way that Rob handled that situation, his answer was perfect to the point where it almost felt prepared,
rehearsed.
And he was able to deliver it very convincingly and charismatically, and it was almost too perfect. I don't know. Very, very charismatic, and someone he just kind of has a look about him where he looks like he might be kind of a more awkward guy in terms of how he navigates things, but very, very smooth and very
oh yes,
very cunning seeming.
I just love that Crystal's brother's looking for a woman and Sutton's looking for a man.
Oh yeah, make it happen. I would be into that. I think the Sutton matchmaking scene, we touched on a lot of the notes that I had about it. I did like how Sutton kind of flipped the trope where she was like, I am looking for a strong man, but it's not because I want someone to take care of me and be a protector. It's because otherwise I'm going to eat him alive. I really liked her putting that out there, and she does have a very a very straightforward way of operating. So it's very believable, and I like that she is putting some thought into both what her wants are and also how realistically how she navigates through life and what's going to be effective here. So this did seem like a authentic attempt to find a connection, maybe. But yeah, the other scene that I had noted was the dinner, Portia's birthday party with Kyle and Mo kind of getting into a tiff, and Kyle spilling to Mo's parents about the fact that he has a tattoo. This was the first time that I have seen between Kyle and Mauricio. There's been so much buildup going into the season about her and his relationship being on the rocks. This is the first time that I'm like, okay, this is two people that are not connecting right now, just bickering. And it was, I thought that, Mo is someone that you don't really see get upset very often. And he was legitimately he seemed legitimately pissed off, and for good reason. I think it's his body, his choices, his parents, who is she to say this? And at least she kind of recognized that. I think it was maybe in a confessional she recognized it, but at the time it seemed it didn't seem like a mistake. It seemed like it was done intentionally out of spite. It was that's just my thoughts on that.
I got that feeling. She definitely was ready to just wreck his entire world. And I was like, wow, you're so wrong for this, Kyle. But you could tell in the moment, at least, was like, I don't care. But in the confessional, I was like, okay, you do know what you did was not okay.
Yeah, totally.